Hello and welcome to Praying on Purpose. It's hard to believe, but we find ourselves just several days before Rosh Hashanah. And so therefore I want to take this time to focus on a pasuk that we say every day. In fact, we say it 3 times a day, but I believe that it has special significance this time of year. The pasuk that I am referring to is found in Ashrei, Karov Hashem l'chol karov v'chol asher yekru'uhu ve'emes, which means Karov Hashem l'chol karov, that God is close, he is karov to all those who call to him. Namely, l'chol asher yikru'uhu ve'emes, to all those who call to him from a place of truth, which means sincerity. And so therefore, the pasuk is basically saying that if you want to be close to God, and more specifically, if you'd want to know who is considered to be korov to God, who is close to God, the answer is anyone who calls to him be'emes, from a place of truth, a genuine, sincere desire to come close to God, makes one, by definition, close. But this is quite remarkable because, as Rav Wolbe points out in the Sefer Alei Shur, most of us would assume naturally that a tzaddik, a righteous person, a person who lives his or her life in a very, very righteous, pious sort of way, so such an individual is going to be considered karov to God, and a rasha, a selfish, evil individual, so that person is rachok, that person is distant from God. But what you see that David HaMelech is teaching, and this is amplified by a Yalkut, by a Medrash, which Rav Wolbe cites, you see that that's not true. That in fact, proximity, so to speak, closeness to God is not determined by how righteous a particular individual is. It doesn't matter per se whether this individual is somebody who has many mitzvos or, unfortunately, many averos. Rather, all that matters in determining whether a person is, at any given point, karov to God, is whether or not he or she is calling to him from a place of sincerity, whether my desire to connect with God, my conversations with God are really genuine, whether they're real. And so therefore, at a time in which the Chazal tell us based on the pasuk, Dirshu Hashem bihimatzo ra'u b'yoso karov, that we are to call to a God, call out to God at a time that he is close to us, we should recognize and appreciate that we have the capacity, we always have the capacity to be in fact close to God, and that depends on the level of sincerity that we bring to our avodas Hashem in general, and tefillah in particular. As this pasuk, Karov Hashem l'chol karov, is a calling to us that we should reach out to God. We should call him from a place of emes, from a place of truth. And I believe that this is, I think, a very motivating, a very positive, and hopefully a very hopeful sort of message all throughout the year, but particularly as we find ourselves getting closer and closer to the day of Rosh Hashanah. And I imagine that all of us, I hope that all of us are feeling a healthy degree of tension because we feel that there's a deadline that is looming. We feel that the Aseret Tshuva is about to begin. We feel that we've had an entire month to prepare ourselves, but yet we're not yet there. There's more that needs to be done. And of course there is. But this pasuk, as interpreted by Chazal, is a reminder to each and every one of us that although there's still a lot of work to do, and although perhaps our preparations have not been quite as comprehensive, quite as extensive as we would have liked them to be, it's as, I don't want to say simple, but it's as simple as l'chol asher yikru'uhu ve'emes, that we can decide at any given point in time to open our siddur or to close our eyes and talk to God, call to God from a place of emes, from a place of truthfulness, in which my conversation with him is genuine and it is sincere. And if we do so, then we are in fact karov. Some of you may have noticed, actually, if you're listening on YouTube, you may have not noticed, but if you listen either to the podcast or to the recordings that are sent out each and every time we send out Praying on Purpose, so you may have noticed that there has been a song, a little bit of a song, an excerpt of a song from Eitan Katz that we've been playing throughout the month of Elul. And it's a beautiful song. I know that it's not, I'm not the one who made it popular. I know it's been very popular for several years now. The song is actually based on a pasuk that we are going to read in this coming week's parsha. We read in Parshas Nitzavim, Ki ha-mitzvah hazos asher anochi mitzavcha hayom. This mitzvah that I instruct you to perform today. And the Ramban and the Sforno teach that this is referring to the mitzvah of tshuva. Lo nifleisi mimcha v'lo rachokahi. It is not beyond your reach. It is not so distant from you. Lo b'shamayim hi. It is not in the heavens that a person should say, Mi'aleh lanu hashamayim. How could I ascend to the heavens in order to achieve this, to reach this? V'lo mevar layam hi. And it's not on the other side of the ocean that a person should say, how can I cross the ocean? Rather, Ki karov elecha hadavar ma'od beficha uvilvavcha lasoso. It is in fact close to you. Karov elecha ma'od. It is very close to you. Beficha uvilvavcha lasoso. So here you have once again the word karov reappearing in reference to the mitzvah of tshuva, and I believe once again that this pasuk can serve as a lifesaver of sorts. It is an extension of God's hand, reaching out to each and every one of us and reminding us that it is karov eleinu. It is close to us. But as the pasuk from Tehillim teaches, we have to decide if we are going to reach out to Hashem from a place of emes, from a place of truthfulness. You know, these psukim give, as we just said, two sort of examples, almost metaphors, illustrations as to how close tshuva is to us. And the Torah says, Lo b'shamayim hi, it is not in the heavens, because if it were in the heavens, then you'd say, Miyalen olanu hashamayim, who can ascend the heavens? And it is not me'evel hayam, it is not on the other side of the ocean. So a question that we could and should ask is, why does the Torah feel the need to illustrate this? Why not just say, HaMitzvah hazos asher anochi mitzavcha hayom lo rechoki, it's not far. It's right there, it's accessible. Why do you have to say Lo b'shamayim and Lo me'evel hayam? I once heard a beautiful, beautiful explanation. Unfortunately, I don't remember where I heard this, so I don't know who to quote. It's not my thought, but it's a beautiful idea. When the Torah says Lo b'shamayim hi, the Torah is highlighting one of the most common excuses that people will give as to why I don't do tshuva. You know why I'm not going to do tshuva? Because it is b'shamayim, meaning it's impossible. I can't. I am who I am. I've always been this way. My habits are what they are. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. This is who I am. And so therefore, it is, so to speak, b'shamayim. I can't ascend the heavens. Miyala lanu hashamayim. What am I supposed to just go ahead and go to the sky? I can't go to the sky. I'm down here on earth. And regarding such an excuse, the Torah says, Lo b'shamayim. It is not b'shamayim. It's not. And the other excuse that people give is, I can, but I can't do it now. I can't do it now. Lo me'ever layamhi, says the Torah. You know, when a person wants to cross the ocean and say, well, I'd love to travel to Europe, but I can't go now. I have work to do. I have to book a flight. I'd love to cross the river, but the ferry doesn't leave for another. I can't go now. I'll get to it. I'll do it eventually, but I can't do it now. And regarding such an excuse, the Torah says, Lo me'ever layamhi. We shouldn't say about tshuva that it is b'shamayim. In other words, that it is impossible. And we shouldn't say about tshuva that it is me'ever layam, that it is out of reach for me now, that I cannot access it now. It's impossible for me to make these changes now. Rather, ki karov elecha hadavar ma'od beficha ubevavcha lasoso. It is close to us. We can do it. It is not just close, it is karov ma'od, as the Torah says. Karov elecha hadavar ma'od. We can do it. It is beficha ubevavcha lasoso. And how? How is it so karov to me? So I bring you back once again to the pasuk that we started. The pasuk that we say each and every day, Karov Hashem l'chol karov v'chol asher yikru'u ve'emes. That God is indeed close to those who call him from a place of truth. If we can make the conscious choice, it is a choice, to be sincere, to be genuine, to be real, to engage in a process by which I am going to begin the Aseret Yemei Tshuva and tell myself that I am going to try to be as real as I can. I'm going to be open and honest with myself. I'm going to try to assess where I am in life, identify areas of needed improvement, and I am going to turn to God and I'm going to connect with him from a place of truthfulness and honesty and real, genuine sincerity. Well, then I am close. May we all be zocheh to take full advantage of the wonderful opportunity that has been afforded us. This is the time of year, Dirshu Hashem b'himatzo kira'uhu b'yaso karov, where the Navi Yeshayahu says, call out to God because he is karov. He makes himself even more accessible. He makes it easier for us to connect to him. but we have to do so from a place of genuine sincerity. So may we all be zocheh to be inspired, to reach inside of ourselves, and hopefully we will begin the period of Aseret Yemei Tshuva on a high. We'll begin knowing that we really, really have started to build once again that bridge, bringing ourselves closer to the Ribono Shel Olam, calling to Him each and every day from a place of genuine sincerity. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.